is interesting. Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is a guy that if the Democrats would have kind of pulled him in to the presidential race, I think he's a guy who could have caused some trouble. Because he's basically he's a moderate Democrat, right? He's basically like a liberal Republican at this point. West Virginia. West Virginia is one of like 3 or 4 states where it's like almost 70% voted for Trump in the last 2 elections. So this is a very conservative state. Joe Manchin, Democrat, old school Democrat. So he left the Democratic Party, became an independent, and he's leaving office. He's going to be done. I think he was in there for about 15 years. And let's see, it'd be 16, I guess, two terms. Joe Manchin tortures Democrats on the way out the door. Okay, let's hear what he says. Okay, let's listen.
Joe Manchin to divorce himself from the
Here's
Democratic
what I
Party.
told them. I said, you ought to figure out how you lost somebody like me. I was born as a Democrat because of my grandfather's love of FDR. I was a very strong Democrat because of my family's love of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I came through the whole iteration.
All right, let's stop. Okay, right away he's why? Because we've talked about this. I don't want to say old in the sense that it's outdated. It's more like their party was what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spoke about in his speech when he told the world that he was going to join Trump. That the old Democrat was for the working class and the mine workers. And he says grandfather with FDR and then the Kennedys, the JFK. That's the kind of Democrat he was.
And I was a Democrat in West Virginia, and it's always been a 75-80% plurality of registered Democrats. But there was a split. I was never in the liberal side of it. I was never in the establishment side. So I always had to fight my way through.
What is is it a shift on social issues?
Yeah, the brand got so bad. Mm-hmm. The D brand has been so maligned from the standpoint of it's toxic. And the D brand is basically this. I've told him, I said, first of all, as an American and as someone in Senate, and I'm going to take the Constitution, oath of the Constitution that I take very, 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 very seriously. I'm going to help every human being pursue the happiness in their life. Pursuit of happiness. I don't care who they are. I don't care what color. I don't care any of the things, who they love and what. Do it, and that's you. And I'm going to make sure you have that opportunity and right to live your life. Just don't make your life, if it might be on the extremes or in the minority, a few, make me believe that's the norm. All
right, see what he's saying? So he's in the center. He grew up in a very conservative state, but Democrat. Because again, it's hard for us to remember, or even some of us are not even old enough. The Democrats, they were the union workers, the workers. So West Virginia is a great example of a conservative state that had Democrats. So Manchin is a Democrat. So how could West Virginia have a Democrat? Well, because it was this a remnant of this tradition. Now he leaves the party, and you see what he's saying? He wants to represent everybody. He's in the center. I think Joe Manchin's a good guy. There were some things he did toward the end there, but I think he was just he was trying to stay a Democrat, and it was so hard, and he had to say and do some things right before he left the party that were questionable. But overall, I think he's a good guy, and I believe what he's saying. And he's saying, look, but you can't, it's toxic. You can't take this very, very, very small minority, and what's he talking about? The extreme social issues, and force them upon the entire country, the party and the entire country. And it's just too much.
Me and my family believe, or my children believe, or this or that. No, I will protect you. Just don't try to mainstream it. And the Democratic Party, the Washington Democrats, have tried to mainstream the extreme.
Tried to mainstream the extreme. That's a great expression. He said, look, and he's showing I'll protect you. I'll defend your rights to it, your pursuit of happiness, but don't mainstream, right? You can't make this mainstream. This is not, it's our culture. I mean, Joe Manchin, how could you compare Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders or AOC? And that's why he's left. That's the problem. And that brings us to that deep problem that Van Jones is talking about with the Democrat. What do they do now? You're losing the good ones. The good ones are retiring or leaving.